Mazda still out in front here. The Bow Walden car doing a pretty good job, just shredding its way itself around the streets of Surfers Paradise here, handling the traffic. Really just doing a superb job. Has led all the way. So it's Bow Walden, Fitzgerald Richards, McLeod, Norris, Stannard, their combination, Crichton and Brame. That's an interesting story. We'll talk about that one a bit more. And Peters and Rooklyn. They're the top runners so far.
John Bow just circulating very, very consistently, which is what it's all about. Nice and clean.
He has been in sensational form this year, hasn't he? Now, this is going to be interesting because a lot of cars starting to make their changes now. They're coming in. The Bow Walden car electing to stay out for a little longer. Alan Grice and Terry Bosniak were the first car in to change. Here we come in now. They'll be coming in thick and fast from here. This is the Rooklyn Peters car. As you can see, there's a bit to do, Alan, isn't it? I mean, you've got to get in, make sure your belts are nice and tight.
Most important thing with a pit stop like this is really to take it nice and easy and don't fumble. So you get very excited and the safety belt's going upside down and twisted. And you go out there all flustered. The main thing with these sort of stops is just to really keep it cool and make sure that everything's done up nice and tight and correctly and accelerate away when you've, I mean, how often have we seen cars going out with fuel jacks still stuck on them? You know, because pit stops are very important. You can actually make or lose 10 or 20 seconds on a pit stop, and it's something for nothing.
If you talk about stalwarts in mates of car, Peter Fitzgerald and Jimmy Richards here. Fitzgerald has stuck with Porsche for a lot of years. He's had a lot of success with them too. They're always beautifully turned out, his cars.
Well, they're bringing out a new Porsche with the style of racing very shortly. It's going to be the new Courier. It's a very lightweight thing with a big wing on the back of it. So that will obviously be the front runner to the 968, which we're watching now, and that will then really bring the challenge up to these RX-7s. But as I said before, Alan Horsley and the boys have got a lighter, better RX-7 to come. So this racing is going to get very serious indeed in the next couple of months.
Timmy Sheridan in the pits.
Terry, who had right of way into the corner? Well, he signalled for me to overtake him. We're a faster car and we're overtaking him, and he signalled from which way for me to go. So I went that way, and I thought I had the corner and everything was split, and I thought it's like from behind, I'm turned around.
How much has it cost you?
Well, it's cost us, I don't know how many places. It's just cost us a few places. But we're running so fine. We're running the plan. We're running at 1,000 revs less than what we normally would be to conserve fuel, and everything was going fine until that happened.
Car okay to drive though?
The car should be okay. There's no tyres rubbing on anywhere. It's not pulling in any direction. The steering wheel's cocked to a little bit of an angle, but it should be okay.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Alan Grice, Terry Bosniak car. Gee, Grice, really going. He's up in the 6th spot now, and of course that was the car involved in that accident. And Grice is really putting on the pressure. He has just been reeling the field in and using all of the circuit and then some. And this is the way this man loves to drive.
Well, one thing's for sure, if he does scrape up against the wall, you won't notice the difference anyway.
Actually, you can see the car beginning to fall apart because the lights have now popped out of the right-hand side. It's been flailing away there for the last couple of laps. But Alan Grice still enjoying himself here.
He always enjoys his motor racing, there's no doubt about that. So in for another change now. This is the Falkland Tyres entry of Peter Fitzgerald, Jimmy Richards. This is their view of it, of course, as the pit crew go to work. Out they come, lean forward, get the belts across. They've done it before plenty of times. It's a good routine.
Well, you can never practice it enough. The guy that has just finished the stint and gets out, he then turns around and helps the guy that's just got in to do up the belt. So you do work as a team. It's very important. Jimmy Richards in it now.
That looked like a really good stop. I mean, they were stationary for a very, very short time. That was as good as we've seen so far. See the damage on the right front wing? They've obviously been in contact with somebody. They were second, and they didn't lose any places during that pit stop.
Yeah, it was a good stop. And of course, Jimmy Richards, if there's anyone in Australia that's got the ability to drive different sorts of cars, it's this fella.
Very, very versatile. It doesn't matter whether it's a NASCAR or a car like this or the Holden Crew Bay that he races. Very experienced and an excellent driver in the wet. Very hard man to beat indeed in the wet.
And his son on the way up too.
Yep, yeah. Stephen is obviously taking after his old man. He raced the Alfa Romeo in the race we saw earlier, and He's won the Formula 4 Championship last year. He's taken to Oscar like a duck to water, and now he's doing the 2-litre Super Touring Car Series with the Alfa Romeo.
I guess the good thing about Jimmy's son, Stephen, too, he's like his father, he's prepared to drive any sort of motor car.
Yeah, that's good, and I think that really does make you a better round racer. Exactly what Al Unser was talking about earlier on today. The more you can put your bum in the car, the better off you'll be. You never get quick sitting in the lounge room.
Okay, now here we go. This is the lead car coming in for their change now, the Bow Walden car. Let's see now, because Alan Grice are behaving to make some time up while they're in the pits. Johnny Bow out. Gary Walden in, and there'll be not much difference in the lap times here. And that was a quick stop.
Flick of the wipers there. Obviously, as he grabbed the steering wheel, he hit the wiper switch, but no trouble. Still in the pit lane. Brings her out onto the racetrack.
Well, we'll see if Alan Grice has made any move. They're still in first place, so they've haven't lost their place. They had a good cushion and made a very smooth stop. But Alan Grice had indicated he was hoping he could make up some time through the traffic with the stops. But that one too slick. Just adjusting the mirror, Gary Walden, as he makes his way down now. They've got a 40-second lead, which is pretty handy.
Well, this will be a good carrot for Gricey, because he'll know where he is in relation to Gary Walden on the circuit. And I don't know whether there's any team orders between the Mazdas. Normally there's not in a situation like this, so Gricey will be driving his heart out to try and make up that deficit.
See Jimmy Richards now coming up into some traffic. So it's Bowen, Walden, Fitzgerald, Richards, Peters, Rooklyn still third, Norris and Stannard, now Grice moving up a spot there at McLeod. But look at this as the traffic gets sorted out. Jimmy Richards really getting squeezed there.
He just looked over and thought, oh, I didn't know you were there.
So he picks up one. Terrific variation of cars here, AJ. That's one good thing. I mean, there'd be so many people at home that would be able to identify with a lot of the marks that are running around here.
Yeah, little Suzuki GTI. It's a great series coming up this year. They're going to run a one-make series, and it's just for 1.3-litre Suzuki GTIs, preferably not over 25 years of age, up to 40 entries, so that's going to be a great series.
I believe your son Christian's going to have a ride in that.
Yeah, he's got his first race on the 2nd of next month at Oran Park, so we're all looking forward to that.
So the new generation of racers, AJ, starting to appear. Jimmy Richards, we talked about his son. Alan Jones' son will be in the little Suzuki series. There's a Celica into the wall. And it's in a spot where they're going to have to be conscious of it, but the flag marshals will keep them aware of that. It's a fairly tricky spot, though.
Well, it's right on the exit of a blind corner, so after a couple of laps, everyone will be he's cutting it a bit fine through there. Everyone will be aware of the fact that it is there, but it'll be the next couple of laps, or certainly the next lap, which will be crucial.
Jimmy Richards lifting wheels all around the circuit. He plies the pressure. We'll be back in a second. We'll take a short break. The Bow Walden car still leading here, the very shiny, sparkly RX-7. Triple M sponsorship and radio network, of course, FM band. And that's the top runners for you. Bow, Walden, Fitzgerald, Richards, Peters and Rooklyn. Grice, Bosjack, so he's really motoring Alan Grice at the moment. McLeod and Norris and Stannard. And that was the Hinton Celica Group A rally car, which you saw stuffed into the wall nice and neatly. And you can see now that Jimmy Richards starts to use the lights.
That's a good idea, you know, because a lot of them get sort of so carried away looking where they're going, which you can hardly blame them for, that to give them a flash on the lights like that, just to wake them up and say, hey, come on, I'm coming through, don't make it hard for me.
So Jimmy Richards weaves his way through, and his co-driver down the pits at the moment, Timmy Sheridan.
Peter, you've just changed drivers. How far are you behind the Mazdas, do you know?
Well, we were floating around 22, 23 seconds. It was remaining pretty constant, dependent on the traffic. And unfortunately, my last two laps, the traffic was really bad. I mean, the guys are trying to make way, but when you come up on the slow cars in the chicane, there's not much you can do. And on that last lap, there was a yellow flag as well. So, you know, the traffic can make or break this race, I'm afraid.
They've had a bit of mixed luck. Can you catch them?
Well, you know, Jimmy will do a good job. I haven't seen what he's doing. I got one clear lap in that whole race where I got into a low 16, but
The rest of them were 17s, 18s, all over the place. And it really depended on who you were coming up on.
It's like peak hour.
You're not wrong. I think it's easier to go out the Gold Coast Highway.
Thanks, Peter. Good luck.
Jimmy Richards there belting the Porsche around, doing his best to catch up. Hey, Joe, I've got to say this to you. I was very disappointed because the Formula Ford race hasn't happened. The program got a long way behind today through various stoppages and crashes and, of course, the track breakup. But, I mean, the youngsters have come from all over Australia. It was the first time they were going to get a decent run in front of a big crowd up here, and the race has just been cancelled. I mean, you must be disappointed over that.
I was going to say, you're disappointed. I bought 4 cars here. You know, we've set up, but okay, we're local. We're only up the road at Arundel. We haven't got all that far to come. But at the end of the day, there are young guys that have come from all over Australia to race here today in Formula Ford. And here we go, another shortcut. To my way of thinking, with all due respect, this is fine racing, but it has a duration of an hour. I can't see why they couldn't have perhaps made it a half-an-hour race and then given the young blokes a go in Formula Ford. It's a long way to come just to be told, sorry, pal, we're running a bit late. We're not going to cancel your race.
Well, an interesting way would have been to race this for half an hour and have a change at, say, 15 minutes. Each car changed at 15 minutes. That would have brought it a pretty close affair.
Well, it would have done. We still would have had the driver change. We still would have seen the cars out there. Oh, here we go. A little bit wrong under brakes into the chicane.
That's Chris Sexton, Melrose and Guy Gibbons driving that car. Wow. Rose and Gibbons with a big lose. Back they go.
But no, there'll be some very, very disappointed young guys out there because they really do look forward to this opportunity of racing an open wheeler around the same area as the... Here we go, look, locking up the front right, getting it all a bit wrong, and then the backs lock up, you can see. How not to come into a chicane. But hopefully we'll have a race tomorrow morning, so it just means we're going to have 1 race now instead of 2.
Now Rose is an interesting driver out of car 44 too, because he really has tried a lot of different cars. I mean, he's quite happy to have a drive of anything.
Well, he's actually racing Formula Ford this year, and so at least he gets to have a drive. I guess when his race was cancelled earlier on, he jumped in the Falcon and is doing that. But he's campaigning Formula Ford and going very well.
Gary Walden now just popping the little wheels up as he makes his way through the traffic, doing it nicely. They're getting out of the way for him this time too, so there's no drama there. Doesn't really have to back off too much at all.
Well, the important thing for him now is to actually take it easy. He's got such a clear lead over the second place car, the Fitzgerald car, that if he makes a mistake now, he'll never forgive himself. Never mind his co-driver forgiving him. You've got to be careful down the inside and don't take any chances. Look at this now. There's no point getting into that fight that we were just about to see.
Brooklyn and the Peters car, that's been going along nicely. They're just still sitting up in the 3rd spot. They've been going pretty well indeed. They've just been pretty consistent. And there's the gap now between 2nd and 3rd. So there's 17 seconds has been made up there. That's a big drive from Jimmy Richards.
Well, Jim's going for it. You can tell he's really driving 10 tenths, and he's a real racer, Jim. He loves his racing. He just... Well, any guy that is paid money to do Group A racing and then goes out and buys a car with his own money just to do more racing, he's got to be keen on it.
Well, the Rooklyn Peters car. Watch it now. That's the Porsche number 2.
Warwick, of course, who is a sometime television commentator who doesn't want to be that, wants to be a racing driver, drive anything and everything you'll put in front of him. Work very hard, in fact, to get into this car right here.
Derek, you might be surprised you see Warwick Rooklyn driving a racing car, but let me tell you, he's driven some pretty famous yachts around Australia. He certainly won the Sydney Hobart, one of the classic blue water races in the world. His father, just an extraordinary record in sailing, but Warwick Rooklyn, very talented on the ocean and pretty good behind the wheel.
Jim Richards, currently the quickest man on the circuit at the moment. He's done a 2:15.1. Next quickest is Gary Walden with a 2:15.8. So it's only 0.7 of a second, but if he keeps that up, it's going to make it very interesting.
Warwick Rooklyn hunches himself over. They've got to be aware that Salika is there. That makes it hard. Car 36 they come up on. Ray Lintott, Martin Lintott. There's quite a bit of family combinations in this race, AJ. We've got the McLeods, the Lintocks, the Searles.
Well, this is one of the great benefits of this type of racing. I mean, it's reasonably affordable as opposed to other forms of motorsport, and it really does give the father-son combinations a chance to have a go together.
Well, we can have a look at car 7 along the way, the Crichton car, because there's a very interesting story to that I'd like you to tell our viewers, and we'll see if we can find car 7 for you. At the moment, we're back onto the Porsche of Peter Fitzgerald and Jimmy Richards. Jimmy Richards, as we said, the fastest man on the circuit at the moment, really carved his way through, comes up behind that Honda. This will be interesting. Look at the way he just throws the wheel up. He is trying.
He's going for it.
Porsche 968. Second place, but whittling away. He's made up 17 seconds since getting into the car, Jimmy Richards.
Well, that last lap was 1.6 seconds quicker than Walden. So he's really going for it. He's giving it a all.
But also remember, we just mentioned earlier, Walden needs to just take it easy right now, so he doesn't need to take any chances.
No, that's correct. You're right. Here's the Neville Crichton BMW M3. This is a car that I actually shared with John Bow in the 12-hour last year. Great little car to drive. And the young man that's behind the wheel there, Mark Ram, started out his racing career in a Suzuki, as I said before, and Neville Crichton has helped him with his racing career, and he's proven to be a very quick, consistent young driver.
Yeah, well, it's great, you know, that people like Neville are giving the youngsters a go in some decent cars. I mean, this was the car you drove in the 12-hour, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, with John Bow, and we bought the car straight over from Germany. It only arrived literally about 4 days before the event, and Neville got it. It was just white. He put the orange stripes on it. We went to Bathurst.
Neville Crichton, of course, has been the man behind the Suzuki series here in Australia that you'll see coming up on your racetracks pretty shortly, and been associated with motorsport for a long time, and was a formidable driver with the BMW team, the player team.
Absolutely, and also along with Warwick Brooklyn, a real avid yachtsman. Loves his yachting and builds beautiful boats as well. He's got a boat building company over in New Zealand. He builds beautiful yachts, and he's also the Suzuki dealer for New South Wales. And Pt2 is the company which is the distributor for Suzuki and also for STP. But he's a guy that loves his racing, and also one that very much wants to give young guys a chance to get on in the sport.
Mark Brain wearing the helmet there, the colours of Kevin Swans. Of course, the motorcycle race, the 500cc race in Swans will be in action at Eastern Creek next Sunday when we go for the 500cc Grand Prix. So plenty of motor racing coming away on 9. So I'd say he's a bit of a Swans fan.
Yeah, I must admit, I can never really work guys out that wear helmets that belong to other people. It always amuses me. I mean, I was down at the Formula Ford area yesterday, and there was about 2 or 3 Formula Fords down there with Nigel Mansell helmets sitting on them. And while it's a good rap for Nigel, I suppose, it's good to get your own identity going in a helmet.
We mentioned earlier about identity. I think it is so important to have your own unique identity. Somebody that springs to mind in Formula One is Eddie Irvine, who liked Ayrton Senna's color scheme. He changed it slightly, went to orange instead of yellow, but he said he wanted to model himself on Ayrton Senna. Well, there you go.
BMW getting around pretty quickly too. He's lifting wheels, the young buck. He's not hanging back.
Now that's a quick little car. It's got nice big brakes. It's a very forgiving car to drive, and they're a bit of a weapon.
You talk about Neville Crichton. I actually went to the boat sheds in Auckland and did a story for White Water Sports maybe 6 or 7 years ago now, and the boats he makes are absolutely enormous, and they float them down a little creek to get them out of the area and out into the open sea, and they're sold all around the world, and they're just beautiful the way that they're all finished. And a lot of them I know go around to the Miami area in America.
Yeah, unfortunately Neville has to go with them occasionally and sit on them for a week or so before he sells them, but it's something he puts up with.
So Johnny Bow down the pits.
John Bow, the Porsche, is starting to make up a bit of ground. It's going to be interesting at the end.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting race, an interesting class. I mean, we have to conserve the revs a bit because the fuel tank's not quite big enough. So Gary's doing that, as I was doing part of the time, and he's doing a terrific job. I mean, you'd have to make a mistake, I think, for Jimmy to catch him, but Jimmy's a pretty good driver. He'll give it a good shot.
Okay, John, thanks a lot.
Johnny Bow, one of the real stars of Australian motorsport, having a great year at the Dick Johnson Shell team in the Group A's, in great form, and gee whiz, as he hustled that big Falcon around. So he's done a good job with the RX-7. Gary Walden now picking up and where he left off, and as you can hear there, they've got to conserve the fuel.
Yeah, the fuel tank is nowhere near the size of the fuel tank in the Porsche, so obviously if they're not going to make a fuel stop as such and waste time by putting fuel in, Alan would have told them to conserve the revs and therefore use less fuel, whereas the Porsche could have started with more fuel and use as many revs as it wants to.
Well, this is interesting. Richards is catching Walden at 4 seconds a lap.
Yeah, well, you can bet you any money you like, Alan Horsley will be down there with the computer, the stopwatch, the whole box and dice. Good move there. Look at Grice, he's going for it. He'll be down there with his stopwatch and he'll know exactly how many laps are to go, how long that is going to take them to do, and by how quick Richards is catching him, and he'll have it all worked out.
Did you see that? Then Alan Grice comes past the Brooklyn Peters car, the Porsche. Wow, he just muscled his way past. So Grice, he's on the charge also. He's decided that he's not going to conserve anything. He's up. Well, that was for 3rd place, actually. So Grice has now moved into 3rd place. Well, that's a great drive.
I thought it might have been for sheep stations the way he went through.
He only knows 2 speeds. He's either stationary or flat out.
You mentioned 2nd place car catching the 1st place at 4 seconds a lap. He's only 21 seconds behind. That's only going to take him 4 of those laps or 5 laps if he continues at the pace he's at right now.
Yeah, but I tell you what, you watch Gary Walden pick up the pace when it gets down to about 10 seconds.
And the checkered flag, so they brought the race to a close a little earlier than we thought. Obviously, the whole program has had to be rescheduled today. We've had a lot of delays, but a great win for Johnny Bauer and Gary Walden. Terrific win for him. Jimmy Richards tried everything he could to come in 2nd place. He really did try very hard. And Alan Grice, terrific drive with Terry Bosniak. That car was damaged, and Grice will bring that home in 3rd place. Warwick Brooklyn, terrific drive from Warwick Brooklyn. Brett Peters, they'll come in 4th place. So a good look at the production cars here around the streets of Surfers Paradise. Program has been altered dramatically because of the rearrangement of the program today. But we won't know now if Jimmy Richards would have ever gone on to catch the RX-7. He certainly gave it a shake and made up 17 seconds from the time he got into the car. All right, we'll take a break, come back to Surfers Paradise.
Still on